Welcome to Sharing My Truth with Mel and Susie, the uncensored version, where we bear it all.
We do. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sharing My Truth Pod. You're here with Susie and Mel and Susie, and we're here to say Sharing My Truth Pod is on display. Wow.
Do you like that?
That was amazing.
It's going to be a new one every time and until we get it right.
Yeah.
Everyone's here for the experience.
Jingles?
No one needs jingles
Just
anymore except for
Susie.
us. Thank you. Here's a sweet little friendly reminder, guys, to give this podcast a little 5-star review and subscribe to wherever you're listening to it. And you can also follow us at all of our socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube's at Sharing My Truth Pod. Go to our website, sharemytruth.com. Leave us a voicemail, snail mail, email. Just we want to get in touch with you. Want to hear from you. Share your truth with us. Hi, babes.
Hello, darling.
How are you?
I'm fabulous.
You're fabulous in pink today.
I am. I like a bit of pink.
I like a little bit.
And at my age, fuck it. You can just wear what you want.
Yeah, fuck, I love that. And then
I
you
don't
have your
really
little
care.
red nails.
I do have red nails.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's
Getting very
changing seasons.
spooky up in here.
Yeah. Okay.
What are you going to dress up as?
Oh,
Sexy nurse?
I don't dress up.
When's the last time
I
you dressed
can't
up?
stand dressing up.
For anything?
Well, I like in my own clothes.
Right.
But I have a real hatred of fancy. What do you call it here? Fancy dress parties, we call them in England.
Fancy dress
That's what we
parties?
call it, yeah.
Wait,
So
what do
when
you
you
mean?
dress
Like
up.
costume parties?
Yeah, costume. That's
Got
the word.
it.
We call it fancy dress.
Fancy dress.
Yeah. And I absolutely hate it. So I hate Halloween. I obviously loved it for my children and did it. I think about the furthest I went was a witch hat. I never actually wore a costume.
That's very big of you.
It is. But, shit, I was getting them dressed, following them around in the rain, getting candy. I think that's quite enough,
very
thank you.
nice.
It is. We don't do it in England.
No?
Well,
really?
it started to become a thing.
Yeah.
Like in the last, I guess probably 20 years or whatever. But when I was a kid, nobody did Halloween. Trick or treat.
Really?
We'd say trick or treat. Oh, that's very American.
Oh, so what
We
do you
didn't
get?
do it. We didn't do anything.
So there's no candy?
No, we don't. Well, we do. I think kids do it now, but it's an American thing, right? A North American thing. So like Europeans are just like, yeah, they sort of do it half-assed.
Is there like their own thing, like the collection of the harvest or something?
No,
Okay.
we've got nothing. But but because of commercial, like everywhere, because of marketing,
Yeah.
it is a thing now for kids.
That's
but
so interesting.
There's not really an understanding of it. It's not as mental as it is in North America.
Right.
When I moved to Canada, I was just like, oh my God, you are nuts. And the fact that people call it a holiday
I know.
just drives me insane. It's
I
like,
know.
give me the day off then.
I know. The fact that people go all out with their fucking like cobwebs and stuff like that on like their front lawns and shit. I'm just like, why are we ruining our lawns like this? Why are we ruining our house?
Anyway, so that's my bit. It's a bit bar humbug.
No, but I feel the same way for Halloween at least. And then, I'm a Playboy bunny every year. So it's like,
Well,
I can't bring something else new in.
well, no, and it costs so much, and who can be
It's
arsed?
exhausting.
And nobody can remember, so who gives a shit?
Yeah, who gives a
It's
shit?
only
Everyone's
kids.
wasted anyways.
Yeah. Exactly.
Anyways.
Yes. Anyway, moving on.
Back to the pod.
Back to the pod.
Mel, what's our topic of the day?
So this
What
is
are we
the
chatting
topic.
about?
So it's basically about. This is actually from an article.
Oh, your flashlight's on.
That's so Gen X.
You're so Gen X.
Hang on. It's
You
off
do it-
now.
You're so
It ha-
funny.
I didn't do.
I
didn't
should
do
wish I didn't
anything.
tell you, to be honest.
That-
God.
Oh dear.
Go ahead, love.
Anyway, what the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah. So I've actually seen this in a lot of places.
Yeah.
About the rise of the single woman.
Fuck yeah.
So obviously, and this is actually a quote that was put on top of a picture of Samantha from Sex and the City. So,
Hello,
which is
darling.
obviously my era.
Mm-hmm.
But there weren't. I mean, I don't think there were as many single women. And what they're saying now, statistically, is, and I've seen this in lots of places, that by 2030,
Mm-hmm.
how old will you be in 2030?
Ew, I don't want to think about that, Mel. What year is it? What year is it?
It's
2024.
6 years.
So I'm 29 right now.
Yeah.
So if
you'll
you
be
could do
30.
that math,
Yeah,
I'm not going to say it aloud.
Yeah. So basically, this says by 2030, 45% of American women ages between 25 and 44, which will be you, are projected to be single. And the shift is driven by
desire for financial independence, higher relationship standards, and a focus on personal fulfillment. And I've seen in a lot of other places, it's like, let's say somebody of your age who are a very young millennial, by the time you're in your 40s, like half of all women will be single and childless.
I love that for us.
Yeah, so this is where our opinions are going to differ. And that is a stark, I mean, that's a huge, if that's true, that's a huge statistic.
I just can't understand. Like, I was thinking about it for myself. I was actually thinking about this recently about just like, because since I broke up with my really long-term boyfriend, someone who I literally thought I was going to marry and possibly have children with, the children have always kind of been up in the air for me. But I was always like, now it's like, am I going to have children?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm 29. I'm having the time of my life being a single girl.
Yeah.
Not that I don't want another relationship, because I'm going out to date to not just fuck, to have someone else in my life. Like, I love that. But do I want to marry that person? Do I want to go down that route? Like, because I'm assuming single is being like not married. Single isn't.
I think single Pringle.
Single Pringle for real?
Yeah.
Because I feel like statistically, like, you're not going to say you're in a common law marriage. People usually don't.
No, I mean,
look,
I mean? All these statistics are always a bit
what
skewed.
I mean, though? Yeah.
I think, and reading into it, 50% is a lot and whatever. And what do they actually mean? Do they mean people are just not legally married?
Yeah,
and whatever?
exactly.
But I think whatever way you look at it, just as a general overview, there will be a lot of women by the time you're in your 40s who aren't married. And I would say, so I'm 51. So I would say my generation was the first generation where women, or I think, obviously, in my opinion, were getting married a lot later. So I got married probably quite early for most people. So I was 28.
Yeah.
I have friends who were younger.
Yeah.
But I'd say most of my friends were in their late 30s or older.
Right.
And I'd say most of my friends who are mothers are either who are my age, who are my friends from uni or school or whatever, their kids are a lot younger, or friends of mine whose kids are the same age as my kids are older than me. So I would say, are you following me? So what I'm trying to say is that people were already marrying a lot later and definitely having children a lot later.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I happen to come from a family where everyone was older. So for me, it was normal. My mum was 36 when I was born. My dad's dad was 45. Like, we have a lot of like generational shit going on in my family. So it wasn't that unusual for me, but was unusual generically.
But I do see women, like, it's not like unheard of for like a women in my generation to marry younger, as in like 24, 25.
Yeah.
But when I see that happening, because I also work for an American company and I have a lot, like, I go to the US a lot, and I have a lot of people who I interact with that are like much younger than me and already married, and I'm like, obviously I keep my opinions to myself, but not on this podcast. And I'm like, that is so young, and statistically, you're going to be divorced by 35. No? Is that
not
incorrect?
necessarily. I mean,
no, of course not necessarily.
But yeah,
like,
yeah, the statistics, it's not great. Yeah,
like,
I would agree.
Like, I'm like, you don't even know what, I think back to when I'm 29 now, and I think back to when I was 24, which wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
24, 23. Like, but I was such a different person.
Yeah, no, it is incredibly
My needs
young.
and wants have completely changed.
100%, they do, and you're incredibly young. I mean, I didn't set out to do this, but I was 24 when I met Max, when I met my husband, and he was 23, and he says to me now, like 25 whatever years later, 20 whatever, is that he definitely felt he was very young to be in too young to be in a serious relationship, but he didn't want to let me go.
Of
or
course
like,
not.
So, and it's worked out, so that's fine. But it is incredibly young, big, and now I can see at my age so many people struggling in their relationships. Like, they're sort of okay, but
like the ones at your age struggling now because they got married too early. Is that what you mean?
no, not even. Well, some of them got married early. Some of them not even. They've just been married a long time, and it's not bad, but it's not great.
Isn't this what kids do to relationships though? It's like, oh, you get married because you're like, my time is running out to have children. And then you have these children and then your relationship falls apart because it wasn't strong enough in the beginning. And then you're just like, well, we have to have this kid. So now we have to get a divorce, but we have to kill. You know what I mean? There's just like a bunch of things that happen.
It's interesting you should say that. So I would say I have a good bunch of friends who stayed single till quite late on.
Yeah.
Compared to me. And, it seemed, or they thought, oh my God, I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to meet anyone. And they actually met like really good partners because they waited and they met the love. They literally met the loves of their life and they're very happy and they had children. But now they're my age or a bit older and they've got like 5 and 6 year olds, which is a lot. I've got a, almost 20-year-old and almost 17-year-old is very different.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It happens when it happens. But I think what is happening today, so I think when I was young, I think there's an idea from millennials that Gen Xers that we got married for money and stuff. We didn't. I mean, all my friends.
Who is that thinks that?
I think there's still a sort of old-fashioned perception a bit.
Right.
But definitely my generation, all of my friends are educated. They all went to university.
Right.
Not all from privileged backgrounds, a lot of them, but not all of them. But they all went to university. They all ended up in very good careers.
Well, you're in the very feminist age, aren't
100%.
you? Isn't that what that was?
100%.
Yeah.
And because of children, a lot of my friends, obviously, you've maybe stopped working for a bit, went back, or whatever happened. It's all kind of different. I have all my friends who have different situations.
Mm-hmm.
Having like the long-term corporate gig is very hard if you have more than one kid. But, some have. But most of them are all married. And but they didn't marry for financial reasons, right? I mean, obviously, it definitely helps if the guy makes money.
Yeah.
And I personally wouldn't have married a schlub.
A schlub. But shout out to all our schlubs out there.
Yeah, exactly. But this idea that now women don't have to marry men, which is what this quote was saying, which is the statistics were saying that women aren't getting married for financial independence. For financial dependence. Well, we weren't doing it either. But I think that's true in the sense that what are we comparing that to? The 19th century?
Well, no, but like every generation it gets better and better for women, obviously.
Yeah.
Fucking hope so.
Yeah.
So like obviously we are able to make the most amount of money we've ever been making, right?
Yeah.
And that's just going to keep happening. And especially because kids, it's the reality. Kids stop women from going on with their careers a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And like from stopping making the money and from stopping them to get the promotion. So a lot of women just aren't having kids because they're like, well, I value my life and my career more than I value having a child.
100%. I mean, it's about really, I think you kind of have to have an idea of where you want to be going.
Yeah.
Because, in theory, you can leave having babies till quite young. And a couple of my friends have been in their 40s.
Till late.
Yeah, and even my aunt was in her 40s. But it's late. It's it's dicey, like you're not sure if it's going to happen.
My mom had me when she was 42.
Right. And it could or it could not have happened, right?
Oh, for sure. And honestly, like if she was still in that era of that's the normal thing to do.
Yes.
You have to have kids kind of thing.
So she had it late.
Yeah,
she had
exactly.
Baby late, yeah.
But like women just don't have that kind of mindset of not anymore of being like, okay, you have to get married, you have to have kids, you have to do all these things. It's like, well, wait, like let's rethink this. Why do we have to do these things?
Oh, 100%. And I agree with that. I definitely think, we are not in a world where you have to marry a man or you need to follow a certain set of rules and you should do what's right for you. And I 100% agree with that. The problem for women, which is not the same for men, is when you get to 40, if you suddenly go, shit, actually, I do want the kid and I do want to be married. For men, it's easier to change that around.
Of course.
And for women, it's very hard. And that's the problem. So, like, if you haven't done it, like in your 20s, like now, I'm 51, my kids are going to, one's at university, one's going to university. It's almost like you have a rebirth, like, oh, wow, all this freedom. Sorry, kids, if you're listening. They won't be listening. It's fine. But it's like, you get something back again because you had them. And I wasn't that young. I was 31 and 35. I know friends who were younger. But it was youngish at the time, to be honest with you. The problem for women is if you decide, and I've seen it many times with my friends who suddenly have got 37 or 38 or 40 and suddenly go, oh, actually, I do want a child, and I do. And in actual fact, I bumped into somebody I know yesterday who is it was a relative of theirs who had a baby. She's now 50, and her son is 3.
Yeah.
So she had him at 47. And she desperately wanted a child. And, you know, that's a blessing. She desperately wanted a child. But obviously, when you're 50 with a 3-year-old, that's no joke.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that it's really unfair as well. It's really unfair that women you want it all. You want to have a career. You want to probably find a mate that you want to find, not just make do. And maybe you want children, and you want everything, and all in its time, and not too early. But that's the problem. Life doesn't kind of go in this kind of systematic way.
Yeah.
And if you get to 45 or 40 or even late 30s, you're like, oh, now I'd like a baby.
Yeah.
It's tough. And there's lots of stories out there now. I saw one the other day, which I don't remember where I saw it, so that's not very helpful. But it's of a lot of women who've frozen their eggs, particularly of your generation and probably a little bit older, sort of 35, who froze their eggs thinking, you know, they're career women, blah, blah, blah. And then they've come to use their eggs, and they're not, like, they put too much, like, this plan will work, right?
Oh, and it doesn't.
And then for whatever reason they're not viable or whatever. I don't know enough about it, but it's like they put all this
all the eggs in one basket, if you will.
Exactly. In that it's going to be fine because I can just press the pause button.
Yeah.
But of course, nature and whatever's going on in your body and whatever else doesn't necessarily want to cooperate.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. And the other big issue is, why are so many women single? Well, they're probably single because we've talked about this on previous pods, and we've talked about this, you and I, a lot, that you, Miss
Me?
Vavavoom Susie, like that you, who are very confident, you have to go up to men and approach them.
Yes.
Which is completely bananas. To me, is like
there is a reason there's more single girls now.
Right.
Because women, one, have higher standards, thank God.
Yeah. I mean,
and then, like, you know, as you're saying, men are... And, like, I understand why this is happening because we live in a different world, and men are a little bit more afraid to kind of say the wrong thing because we're going to, like, go after them in a weird way.
Yeah, for sure.
And that does happen. And it's just like, men, just don't be fucking weird. And then hopefully that just won't happen to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, men do not approach.
Which is bananas.
At all. I will look and, like, you know, whatever. I will look hot.
You look hot right now.
All of my friends, okay? I don't... You know, like, all of my friends are super hot. We all go out, like, literally very, very, like, small amount of, like, a small amount of times that we're going to get approached. Or if we are getting approached, it's by older men.
Yeah.
And it's not by men of our generation.
Exactly my point. Because they are from the generation where you did it.
Yes.
And it's bananas to me. I mean, if you cannot get somebody approached, there is no hope for the human race.
No.
I mean, it's just bananas. And I was telling you, like, you know, when I was your age and, you know, getting my glad rags on and going out, this nice English expression for you.
Yeah.
And you just stood there.
Yes.
With your friends, and guys came up to you and bought you drinks all night.
Hey, here's the other thing too, though, is that I remember when I was like 18 and just starting to go to the bars, that would happen still. But nowadays, and this is literally 10 years later, of like, now going to the bars, and literally, like, you could sit there all fucking night by yourself.
It's just so interesting.
Like, maybe one guy will talk to you. It's so weird.
It's so bizarre.
Because men also don't look up from their phones.
Well, yeah, and this is obviously another problem.
Yeah.
But you think about it, like, if you were shy...
Yes.
Oh, my God.
I'd be fucked.
Or, like, you know, 99.9% people who don't look like you. I mean, how on earth? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I know.
I mean, men and women, and before anybody comes at me, we're talking in this conversation about men and women. That's what they're designed to do, is to, like, you know...
Make babies and fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are you going to do that if you don't meet anyone? And you are sort of attracted to somebody, you see them, you go up to them, that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I think there's this other thing that's happened. And my husband talks about it all the time, like he would, and he's very confident, and he said he would just always go up to girls, and he had his lines, and he would get rejected all the time, but he didn't. He just got up and
just
carried
go
on.
and get fucking rejected.
He just kept going. But now I feel like men are a little bit more delicate, and and his guy friends were all the same, and they were all like, just keep going until you know, score, as it were. I mean, you don't go like, okay, she rejects me, next one, you know, like, but
the numbers game.
Yes, yes. And I feel that now men, there is this issue that they're worried they're going to get some weird fucking situation, which is quite possible, let's be frank.
It is, nowadays.
There are some maniacs and people who really are gaming the system, and it's horrible for people when something has actually happened to a woman, when something terrible and tragic happens, that somebody else is taking the piss and you know, inventing a story. It's horrible, right? But that's the nature of life, isn't it? But that men are so scared that somebody's going to accuse them of, I don't know, something fucking
bad.
crazy.
Yeah.
That there's that. Then there's the thing of, like you said, everyone's always on their bloody phone.
Yes.
And
it's like, oh yeah, I hate the dating apps, and I'm talking for me too, but like, fucking hate the dating apps. Like, they never work. Like, I'm not actually meeting somebody, or I keep getting ghosted, or it's just like I can't get past like date 2 or 3, and it's just like, why isn't it happening? It's like, because people are on the apps constantly. You're always on your phone. You're always looking at Instagram. You're always looking at other things. You always think that there's something better out there, and that's a lot of people's problems. Also, I feel like a lot of single women are taking those, like, we've talked about this before on dating apps. It's like you're finding out way too much information way too quickly first. Like, you shouldn't know this much about a person and make these judgments about a person. You're making it way too fast.
Yeah.
But it allows women and men to kind of like be like, oh, well, you know, I feel like we're perfect for each other. And then they move way too quickly, and it scares people away.
Yes.
And then you're like, it's just all bad all around.
Agreed.
But this is because we're not meeting people like serendipitously anymore, right? Like just at the bar, or like at a coffee shop, or like at a fucking library or an art gallery. Like, there's all these places, but people just aren't willing to talk to each other anymore.
No,
so you can't meet people. It's so crazy.
It's very odd. And if you think all the sort of rom-coms, they still show this idea that you go to a party and you meet somebody, or you go to something, and it doesn't seem to be happening.
Yeah.
And I think I think the dating apps have also done it. And I've seen a lot of people talking about this, that women's standards are so high now that they want, you know, and this is the irony. We'll go back to an original point about money. They want the guy that makes the big bucks. They want the guy that's nice. They want the guy that's
can have a baby and wants to get married.
They want the whole package.
Yeah.
But of course, that's like however many men out of however many. I mean, that's the top whatever percent. Plus, they want him to be, you know, Tom Brady.
Yeah. Well, as a single girl right now, for me, like, I am dating the guys who are older, who don't want kids anymore. Most likely, they most likely don't want to get married right now. That works for me because that's not what I'm looking for right now. I'm looking for single kind of fun, but at some point, you know, I'd like to get married. You know, I don't know if I want kids, but I'd like to, you know, have one partner at one point and just like share a life with that person. But it's just like, at this point, for men my age, it doesn't look like it's going to happen with those guys.
Yeah.
Which is so bad.
Yeah.
Because older guys just like are so much, they just give you so much more, except for the children and the marriage.
Oh, yeah.
But in the general bit, right?
But I think it's an interesting point. Like, most of the guys are talking about a Gen X kind of age. And they are, and I could say this because my husband's Gen X. I know a lot of Gen X men.
Yes.
They are more confident. They're obviously very cautious and very concerned about the environment, like the sort of Me Too kind of being accused of stuff, which wasn't around when we were younger. Or being falsely accused, is what I mean. Is like being put in a situation like, no, like you've misunderstood the situation. But I generally find they're very confident. They've also lived life. They can hold themselves well. And also men in their 50s, and I say this a lot to my husband, is that women do look a lot better in their 50s now than they did, you know, years ago
Yeah.
when they looked about 80, and now, you know,
Yeah.
we're allowed.
The Golden Girls are supposed to be in their
Exactly.
50s. So crazy.
Exactly. Like now you're allowed to look trendy and you're allowed to wear cool clothes and stuff like that. And obviously there's lots of procedures and whatever you can do. But I do think that men look particularly good
Oh my God, yeah.
in their 50s. But I do say this to my husband all the time. I say, just, you know, hold your horse, because you're going to look really good and you're going to get to your 70s and you're going to fall off a cliff.
Right.
Because most, I have to say that, 'cause it makes me feel better,
Possible.
is that women then, I find that women in their 70s tend to look better than the men in their 70s. So that's my hope.
Oh, interesting.
I think there's a sort of, I think when they
like a
get
switcheroo
older,
thing.
yeah. But the point I'm making is I do agree. I think men, if they've, you know, looked after themselves, they look good in their 50s and they've worn their life well, and they, you know, have some hair and are not too overweight and all the rest of it. They do look good, yeah. But so the problem with going back to why there will be so many single women, and I think from your point of view, you think it's not an issue, and I'm not saying it's an issue. I just think it will have lots of knock-on effects, because these things always do. Like, you know, you look at a population like China, and they don't have enough girls. They don't have enough women because they've got all these men. Right. So there will be a knock-on effect if there are, you know, and then there are less children. And
but here's the thing, there are, and this is also a reason for why I am second guessing having children, and it is because of the environment. And I think there are a lot of women out there, millennial women, Gen Z women, who are looking at this being like, do we need more children in the world? Probably not. And they're actually making their decision because of that. And I just read an article about a woman who just like literally made, that was like the deciding factor for it. It's like, I care about the environment. There doesn't need to be any more children. I don't want to need children, so I'm not going to have children.
Wow.
And like that is like a point that I think about constantly. I'm like, I'm just bringing the world, like, and I don't want to, you know, people who have children, I don't think you think like this, but like there is that thing of like having child is selfish, right? And there is that point where it's like, oh, I just want to have a child because it'll make me feel better, right? Like you're not even thinking about like 20 years down the line when like what kind of a world is this child gonna live through?
I mean, I see where you're
that's
coming.
like a lot, but like that is reality.
I see where you're coming from, but there is another argument that we obviously do need to repopulate the human race.
Do we though?
Well, do we all just die out?
Why
or?
not?
Right. Well, yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, you know, but I don't have to worry about it. You're going to have to worry about it, because you're going to be in a world where, you know, there aren't going to be enough young people, and you won't have a pension because of anybody to pay.
I already probably don't have a pension. Don't we know this about Canada yet?
That's true.
That's why I'm trying to marry rich, baby.
Yeah, well, that's a good move. But you see, again, that's funny to me, and I hear a lot of women your age saying that. I want to marry a man with cash. I want to marry a man who does well. I hear younger women say it, and you know, all for that. Very smart, but that almost goes against the financially independent. It just doesn't make any sense. That doesn't equal X. Doesn't equal.
It's all bullshit, Mel.
Yes.
You have to just live for you, people.
I know. Well, I say this all the time, and I'm very successfully doing it, I'd like to say. But the point I think about single women, and I hate, and this is very Mama Mellish, but the problem is if you want to change your mind, try and change it fucking quickly, because if you get to 40, and I hate that it's just true, but it does run out. And you can't be 42 and suddenly decide, oh yeah, I'm going to freeze my eggs. I mean, you know, it's
freeze my eggs.
You can freeze them. I don't know if they're going to do anything. But
yeah, like
anyway.
If your man's going to get the vasectomy, make sure that he has a little sperm left for you.
You see, I'm not a big. See, now we're going off. I'm not a big fan of vasectomies.
What?
Yeah.
Why? You don't have a penis. Who cares what you think about their body?
Wow. So progressive of you. I think if the man wants to have a vasectomy, obviously that's entirely up to him. Yeah. But it does kind of, I don't know, you never know what happens in life.
Nah, fuck him. You know, snip them. Snip them all. Snip them. It's reversible.
Oh, which actually leads into our next subject, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Do you like my segue there?
Oh, Mel, what's the tea today, darling?
So the tea is this, and I'm just getting my article up.
Yes.
This is from the Times of London.
Yes, the Times of
London. Is saying that, and I have heard this is not like actually news to me, although this was published on the 27th of September, is that the NHS, which is the National Health Service,
Thank you,
it's
darling.
like
in
our
Britain, in
state
England.
health service, is a huge organization, gathers lots of statistics, so they probably should know something, is saying that women's health leaders fear that social media myths are leading to a dramatic rise in unplanned pregnancies and abortions. So basically, and they mention particularly TikTok, that young women are looking at content that's talking about particularly what the pill and stuff does to you, hormonal changes, potential cancer, blah 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 blah, all this sort of stuff, and are making a decision, which is not, I'm not saying none of those things are untrue.
Yeah.
It's just they're not really balanced in the whole kind of information. So I have a very specific viewpoint of this. So do you want me to, shall I start?
Go ahead, and then yes, of course I will come in. with
So
my opinion,
that a lot of women, I think, as opposed to my generation, where every girl I know went on the pill.
Yes.
For to control their hormones, for acne, blah blah blah, and then some people for contraceptive reasons, because obviously it doesn't stop all the horrible nasties. But that they're saying that a lot of girls are opting out and they're not really thinking about that. They're just looking at the TikTok and or the whatever they're seeing online and whatever platform they're seeing it, because we're not going off to TikTok. I like TikTok. And that's causing knock-on effects. Now, I understand there are huge issues with contraception, with oral contraception. I personally use the ring, which is the same hormonal contraception, and
there's still bad things with that.
100%.
I'm like, that's not like just like,
But I think there's a differing, and this is where we're two women that can differ, not just because we're different generations, but I'm somebody who has suffered massively from extreme pain.
Yeah.
Which I started my period when I was 12. A lot of information, sorry, but I was 12. I was very young.
Me too.
Yeah, which was quite young in those days. And I had, doubled over, like had to take days off, like extreme pain.
Horrible.
Caused me all sorts of hormonal, I'm just what they call a hormonal woman. Isn't that a lovely? And I, gave me like really bad acne when I was younger. Like I just got everything from it. So really the only thing that helped me was going on the pill. And, I was 17, maybe 17 when I went on the pill, and on and off, I'm still, because I'm still not menopausal for the whole world to know, still on using contraception.
Wow.
Because the minute I come off it, it completely fucks me up. Now, there is an argument that obviously if I hadn't done it, it wouldn't have fucked me up, and who knows what fuckage has happened along the way because of what it's done to your hormones. But I just know where the point I started from. So I think for the women who don't suffer, which I think men think that periods are the same for all women, which they're not.
Yeah.
And we all suffer in different ways. Like some women get very bloated, some don't. Some experience severe pain. Some women get acne, some women don't. Some women get all of it, blah, 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 blah. And if you are really suffering, you got to find a solution. Otherwise, you literally cannot function. So you use hormonal contraceptives. And I know that like your point of view would be like, it does fuck you up. And I'm not saying it doesn't. But I mean, at my point in my life, I literally am terrified to come off it. So I will have to come off it.
Why are you terrified to come off it?
Because I have come off it and I just felt dreadful.
Right.
I mean, it affects my mood. It makes me feel unwell.
But is that because of the pill or is that because of your own hormones?
Yeah, my own hormone, because it's controlling me.
Right.
It's controlling my. So basically, I then, as what most women, to go into menopause, you have to have a year of not having a period. So the only way you can know that is to come off any form of contraception.
Yeah.
Not have it for a year. So basically feel like shit for a year, which I'm gonna have to do. Because
but it might just go back to normal.
It might, but I'm fearing this is unlikely. It might, and then I can take HRT.
Okay. Which is a menopausal.
HRT is hormone replacement therapy, which is interesting. Like in the UK, like all of my friends take HRT. Here has a very different kind of.
I've never even heard of this.
Well, there you go. HRT is like, if you are going to suffer really badly in your menopause, which is like literally, if it's bad for you, a period on crack for 7 years.
That's horrible.
You're going to fucking take something to control your hormones. And women during perimenopause and menopause, we are going off track here, but you know, you can feel hot at night, you can sweat, you feel itchy, you feel pain.
horrible.
I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And not just what that does to women, but what that does to the men or whomever they're in a relationship with,
and
is
their children
extreme.
and like
Yeah,
everyone
is
dealing.
extreme.
Yeah.
So you take hormone replacement therapy to, well, I guess balance your hormones. But the problem with and I probably should look this up before I say this, but with you know, being on oral hormonal contraceptives, the different ones have different balances of whatever they have, estrogen, progesterone, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then obviously at a certain age, you shouldn't be having too much
Yeah.
estrogen or whatever it is. And so, but it's very problematic. Like, what do you do if you're a woman
Okay. Well,
who suffered?
I'll give you my little 2 cents about birth control because
Go on,
I first got on oral contraception because my doctor wanted me to go on it when I was like maybe 16 or something like that.
Why?
I don't know, because I was sexually active. And so
You
she's
are
like,
kidding.
okay, so you're going on birth control. My mom didn't want me to go on it, but I didn't tell my mom that I was on it because you don't need your parents' permission, I think, at 16
No,
at that point.
I don't.
So I went on it, and my mom was like, okay, I see
I'm
that
just
you're
looking
on
at
it.
The facts of what's in it.
Of
Yeah.
the birth control. And so like, I see that you're on it. I don't want you to be on it. Not because like she wasn't mad. She was just like, this is not good for your body. You should be totally natural with your body. Like if you can be, just use condoms, like just be safe, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, honestly, like I agree, but I'm going to try it. So I was on it for 3 months. And then I was super inconsistent with the pill because you have to be very consistent with the pill
Susie, yeah.
for it to work. If people don't know that. So you have to take it literally at the exact same time every day of the fucking year. And like, and like even like you're taking those like placebo ones for the week of your period. So like, so that didn't work for me. And so my doctor then prescribed the ring, the Nuva ring. And when my mom saw that, she was like, okay, you're not going on the ring, because she read a bunch of articles with like women literally going into like septic shock or whatever it is with the ring in, and then, you know, losing limbs or something crazy. So
yeah, probably because they left it in. I mean, I've been using it for 15 years.
No, I know. And some people it works and some people it doesn't,
100%.
right? Like you have to
100%.
kind of figure out the contraception for you. So I haven't been on anything since I was literally like 16 or 17. So I have literally just been using condoms and the pull-out method. And well, like being like knowing your natural cycle, and like I don't ever not use a condom. That was double negative, but like you get the point. Like I always use a condom with new people. Always that someone I'm not in a relationship with, I'm always gonna be using a condom with. Also, I'm very, very, very aware of my cycle and my body.
Right.
And just like, you know, I now have sex with guys who've had vasectomies, so that's really, really nice. Very pro vasectomy.
Okay. Got it.
I'm like, you deal with your stuff, and then I don't have to deal with my stuff, you know?
Got it. Right.
So obviously pregnancy is something that I do not want. Obviously STIs are a huge fucking factor, and I definitely have never had one, and I've never wanted one. So that's why I use condoms for every new person I sleep with. But it's always worked for me. And that's also the point, right? You have to find something that works for you. But I also want to say, like, everyone I knew. And that was also a point where I was like, oh, I want to be on birth control because all my friends were on birth control at like 16.
Yeah.
Right. And like the fact is that like, you know, you got bigger titties when you go on the pill. And like, you know, like if you had bad acne, they would prescribe you birth control, which I don't agree with, to be honest. Like, if you have bad acne, it's a hormonal thing, and it's okay to go through regular natural hormones when you are a teenager.
Hang on, did you ever have bad acne?
I had acne. Everyone has regular acne.
How bad? Like one spot on your forehead?
Like some spots sometimes.
Okay. So if you, sorry to interrupt, but if you have really bad acne, which at one point I did,
right?
Like, I mean,
is this before you went on birth control?
I had sort of yes. So quite bad, like covered, like red, like bad, like, you know, you see those kids like really bad.
Yeah.
So then I later took this, I don't know what they call it here, but it's called 𝐴ccutane.
Yeah,
France.
Yeah.
So which is also, people hate that, but I've taken that twice and sort of literally.
Your skin is perfect though right now, Mel.
Yeah, but that nuked it. And but I mean, what I'm trying to say is that if you are in a place, particularly acne, and for some young people, it can be so bad.
Yeah.
I wasn't, it was kind of very red and, spotty. I wasn't like cystic, pustule, whatever. It was more like very teenagey, but bad.
Yeah.
It is awful.
Yeah.
Because it affects your confidence.
Yeah,
you can't go out. You just feel awful. So the people who don't have it have no idea what that's like. And you'll do anything. You will literally use snake's blood.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Just get this off my face.
Right.
In the most time of your life where you're very self-conscious and everything else. And there's this thing that can stop you getting cramps, that can get rid of the stuff on your face.
Yeah.
But
then the side effects down the road, which there are
potentially
a ginormous amount of side effects. Yeah, of course, everything's potentially, right? Like you can still get pregnant if you're on birth control. There's all these percentages of all these things. Like it does possibly cause cancer. It does give you, whatever it is, shocking of the system. I really don't know because I've never been on it. Like I've never read these things, right? Like there's a ginormous list of side effects that you are getting from taking a pill every single day. And I also know people who have found it really hard to get pregnant after being on the pill for so long because their body's so used to it, which is another problem.
Yeah, I guess I had the complete opposite problem. I came off the pill and I was pregnant like that.
Yeah.
And it actually frightened me because I thought, oh my God, I could have had about 100 babies by now. Literally each time, and I only have 2 children, I decided to have I was just pregnant straight away. And so it was a bit, but to me it proved the point, kind of oddly, that you're saying that my body is so hormonal. Is like, and when I had both my children, I had everything.
Yeah.
I was just like a hormonal mass.
Crazy.
Of yuckdom. And I looked like the size of a small country. And I just had everything.
Yeah.
Just everything. And it's all hormonal. And, you're right. And I'm very happy for you. And I mean this genuinely as a woman, that you are able to not have to do it.
Yeah. I just also don't like being pushed into something.
100%.
And I think that's what a lot of the doctors
100%.
do, right?
Yeah,
like
I'm not. They don't really do that now. I mean, I have young, women in my life, so I know what doctors do, and they don't actually do that anymore. I think there's a shift away. I think there's a lot more conversation, which there was none when I was young, about what it can do to you.
No, there was none. Like, the only reason I kind of knew is because my mom was so not for it, right?
Right.
But all my other friends are on it, still on it, we're on it, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it's the other thing is just to understand, and I would, if anybody is listening to this and possibly
we're just speaking to a void now.
Going into but thinking about switching, thinking about any of those things, is please do your research.
Yeah,
because
and you can try different ones.
Because I've also had the what's the thing they shove up the IUD. The IUD.
Yeah.
The worst experience of my life.
God.
And again, like you, I had to see the gynecologist for something else. And she's like, you're at that age. It was about 5-6 years ago. She said, this is a really good thing to do. Lots of my friends were on it.
The hormonal one or the non-hormonal one?
Yeah, I think it's the hormonal one.
Yeah.
And nobody prepared me. And this is my own fault. I didn't do the research. Nobody prepared me for how fucking uncomfortable it is.
Putting it in.
It is horrendous. And it was so uncomfortable that literally I had it put in. I just couldn't. It was like, oh my, and I have quite a high pain tolerance.
Right.
And I couldn't believe how I felt so awful, and you could feel it. And I could feel it for days there. And I literally left her office, walked out the door and vomited. I was so uncomfortable.
Oh, gross, yeah.
And it made me feel awful. And that's, again, like if it says, if you just look up hormonal contraception, hormonal contraceptives contain estrogen, progesterone, or progesterone only.
Yes.
So those are the things to understand, what your body needs, what works for you, blah, blah, blah. And that was that problem with the IUD. But if you are able to not have to take it and you're good at managing it.
Yeah.
I mean, we can argue about the pull it out method, but whatever.
Yeah, of course.
But because you can get pregnant. My friend who just had her third baby, and she told me, I said, I thought you were on the pill. How'd you get? She said, pull it out method. I'm like,
look, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do.
Baby number 3.
But like,
I'm joking.
you know, no. Like, it's definitely not the best thing to do. But knowing your cycle, I think, is very powerful for women too.
I agree with you.
And
like, I 100%. And I think your generation and Gen Zs in particular are really good at it. Like, both my daughters have an app. Like, they know.
Yeah.
And, you know, older people just think, oh, that's ridiculous. I actually think that's really great.
Yeah.
Because I would have had absolutely no clue. If I wasn't on the pill, I would have no idea what day. No idea. And you know, when you go to the doctor and they say, oh, blah, 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 when was your last period, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I wasn't taking something, I wouldn't know. I just know it from the times when you have to put it in and take it out kind of thing, which is what the ring you have to do. But I think if you don't have to do it, of course it's great. If you don't need essentially medication
exactly
to help you, then of course it's better. But I unfortunately do. I mean, I don't know if, and most of the women in my family, we're all the same. So we've all had to take it. We're all chronically affected by it.
Yeah.
Which
it's a genetic thing. Just
it's
like
a genetic
else.
thing.
Yeah.
Apparently means we can have babies easily. I'm not sure what that means, but
yeah, of course.
But
That's why the London population is just booming.
Booming, I know. But anyway, I think that the thing that's wrong in this, my thing about this article in the, what did I say? It was in the Times, which I don't think is fair, is that it's quite patronizing, the article, is that young women now are much more informed.
Yes.
And they are going to things like TikTok because it's a search engine.
Yeah.
And they're looking for information. If you are only taking that information, that's not a good idea.
Definitely
but if you are doing some research, which my generation did 0, then I applaud you. But if you're going to do the research, do lots of research and then make a decision on everything. Not obviously on the basis of one TikTok, which I'm sure lots of kids do. But at least they're doing something.
No, yeah. And like, that's exactly what I love about this, right?
Yeah.
Too, right? Because it's like, it was just pushed in us and on us, right?
Yeah,
like the idea of birth control in general. If you weren't on it, you were fucking weird. You know what I mean? Like as a teenager. And now that people are actually like thinking twice about it.
Yeah.
It's like, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God they're thinking twice.
I agree.
You're literally putting a medication in your body, which you don't know what it is.
I agree.
Like, of course, be as educated as you can be. But you should definitely do what's right for you. And if you are sexually active, then like, yeah, you should think about protection, and whether it's, you know, birth control with the condom, like the pill with the condom, or like anything else like that. Yeah, you should double up, girl, if you want to.
You should definitely
double up if you can. But knowing your cycle is also very powerful, and using all of the, you know, all of the resources that we have now.
I agree. And there are a bunch of apps. And actually, on the subject of doubling up, that's very funny, because I went to see my doctor recently and it was about my ring. And she's like, you do know that this, you know, it doesn't protect you against STIs. And you're like, babe, I've been on the earth quite a long time. I know that. Thanks so much.
No, but also, like, who are you sleeping with?
Well, I know. But she's quite a young doctor, and I hadn't seen, I'd maybe seen
funny.
her twice. I've switched doctors. It was just so funny the way she said it in such a... she obviously has to legally. I'm like, yeah, I got that. I know that.
So why... Okay, and this is like a little bit the last thing I say about this.
Yeah.
But why don't you want your husband to get a vasectomy? Do you think you're going to have another child?
Oh, Jesus Christ, no.
But do you know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you want him to get one? If you're gonna have more fun, you can get off the pill if you want to get off the pill, or the ring. Sorry,
it's a very good question. I've never thought about it. I've never thought about asking him ever.
And he's never thought. Obviously, like, if he doesn't have to do it, he doesn't have to.
Thought about. I mean, he would do it if I said I asked him. I feel a bit like if he wanted to do it, then he can do it. But I don't know, maybe it's a bit old-fashioned and not wanting to take his manhood away from him.
He's definitely not doing that.
And also, you just don't know what's going to happen in life. I don't know. What if he got married again and wanted another baby?
What? You can't let him have that.
No, I've never thought about it. And I've obviously not had an issue with contraception.
Yes.
Because it's always kind of worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never asked him.
So amazing. Your relationship.
Is it?
Boggles my mind.
Does it really?
No, I love it.
Oh. Anyway, on that note, vasectomies.
My darlings. So talk to your doctor. Make sure you're getting all the information about that. And also, girls, if you're single, you're pringling. And,
You are,
and
and-
be safe.
Yeah, but please don't freak out. We didn't really talk about that. I think people are freaking out about it.
Which freak out?
They're like, oh
which
my God.
part?
The freaking out that because
And they're single.
Well, most women, we're not going to put you in this bucket, that are single
Yeah.
are freaking out that
They're
they're
freaking out.
single.
They're
They're
freaking
telling everyone they're having a fabulous time. They're actually fucking freaking out. And
Yeah,
they,
because their hormones are going. We're talking about hormones. Like,
Yeah.
their fucking hormones are like, you're getting old.
yeah, but also you're in a specific situation where
Yeah.
you were in a relationship and you're having some fun, which I think is absolutely the right thing to do. And I would tell anybody to do that. Don't jump in. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. But we're talking about women who've been single for a very long time are just nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And they're saying, oh, yeah, everything's great and I'm loving it. And they're really not, are they?
No, a lot of women are actually fucking not liking it. And I'm
No.
assuming a lot of men aren't liking it too, because men honestly love when people take care of them. And now that they are single, they're just kind of looking for whoever will kind of bite, is my think about
Whoever
it.
will bite. Very good.
But like women are like, okay, I want someone to take care of me. But men
Yes.
also in my generation now, because we're talking about kind of single women in my generation, like men, like they don't want to take care of women anymore.
I know. It's awful.
And it's like, okay, but then like,
What's the point of you?
yeah.
No, I don't.
No,
No,
but,
but
if
they don't.
If they are having if we are having the babies, which we
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
still, unfortunately, they haven't figured out how
Yeah.
you guys have the fucking babies.
Yeah.
Please take that off of our hands.
That would
for
be
once.
nice. Yeah.
Then like, yeah, you kind of have to be. You have to try to be the breadwinner. I'd love a man to just fucking be like, I am going to be the breadwinner. I want you to relax. Like that.
Like my husband. No, but I think women have done it to men. Like my
I know.
women in my generation of women have raised these boys saying, and
We're
raised these girls
equal.
saying you're feminism, blah, 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 and all this sort of stuff.
Ugh.
And then now these girls want to be trad wives.
I'm just exhausted. Like, please someone take care of me.
Oh,
I'm so
so sad.
tired. I make a really good meal.
I bet you do, actually.
Yeah, and I'm a really fun travel buddy.
I can attest to that.
so nice.
And you're a very nice house guest.
Thanks, guys.
You're very clean and
I
you're very
try.
respectful.
I try to be, and I look really cute on dates.
You do.
Like, so cute.
You do.
So if anyone wants to take
I mean,
me out-
I haven't actually been out. Well, I've been to
We've been
dinner.
out to-
That's a date.
to dates.
Yeah, you do.
friend dates.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my little resume for
Yeah. And by the way, we don't want thousands of.
I'd love to go through those though. Not dick pics, but everything else.
Oh God, I'm tangled in the mud.
Anyway, all right, we have to get the fuck off
Yeah,
here.
we do.
Okay, thanks for listening, guys. If you guys
Yeah.
have an opinion on birth control, or if you're a single lady and you need some advice from Mel because she is the advice lady / me, because I will tell you how it is.
You will. You'll tell us how it is right now.
I will.
Yeah.
We love you guys so much. Or you're a single man and you want to know how the single ladies need to be. You let us know at Share My Truth Pod on the socials or sharemytruth.com. See you next time.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast and follow us on social at Sharing My Truth Pod, and leave us a voicemail on our website at sharingmytruth.com to share your stories and experiences with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.